Discovered how sign language gave a billionaire's mother an incredible choice for her son's wife. Laura's breath quickened as she paced the cramped kitchen of her tiny Maplewood apartment. The scent of burnt toast clung to the air, but she couldn't focus on breakfast. Her thoughts swirled chaotically, a whirlwind of worry and determination. Behind her, Alex sat at the table, silently signing his frustrations about school. Most days she felt like her heart might shatter when she saw the confusion in his bright eyes, a constant reminder of his struggles as a deaf child. The weight of the world pressed down on her. Could she truly provide him with a life free from the limitations others placed on him? Just then it hit her. What if today was the day that changed everything? "I'll make this work for Alex," she murmured to herself, the echoes of his laughter blending with the ever-present anxiety about their finances. But how? Cumulatively, her long shifts at the diner barely covered their rent, let alone extracurricular activities. Each morning, she felt the sting of exhaustion pulling at her, battling between the desire to create a better future for her son and the looming dread of their dire circumstances. Her phone buzzed, interrupting her spiral of despair. It was a reminder for Alex's sign language class, one of the few places where he thrived. Maybe connecting with others would help him find his footing. But even as she contemplated the class, doubt gnawed at her. What if he struggled to feel accepted? She had watched him face hesitance from his peers and disappointment from teachers who underestimated him. The thought of the world writing Alex off made her stomach revolt. Would he ever break free from these chains? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Laura hurried to the community center, she felt the pressure building inside her. But upon arrival, everything went dark. A vibrant class was in full swing, filled with enthusiastic kids communicating through signs. In the corner, she caught sight of a woman with her striking gray hair cascading smoothly over her shoulders, radiating confidence. Cindy, a tech mogul known in town. At that moment, her heart twisted. Could someone like me ever really connect with someone of her stature? Through the windows, the autumn leaves rustled, teasing her with glimpses of hope and connection. Laura's instincts screamed out to run away, yet something compelled her to stay. Would this woman even care about an ordinary single mother struggling to raise her exceptional son? Before she could process it, Cindy approached, her warm smile bridging an unspoken bond that stirred within Laura. But that instant of connection only amplified the inner conflict. Nerves flooded her mind as she considered what this moment could mean for Alex. As they began talking, a sudden thought gripped Laura. What if Cindy saw a chance to reshape her own life through their struggles? Murmurs of jealousy and dread churned at the back of her mind. Beneath the blossoming friendship, a fear lurked, the fear of being made even more vulnerable. Would Alex become a project to someone who could easily overlook the depth of his dreams? Or worse, what if he embraced the world that often looked down upon them both? Laura felt a ripple of anxiety surge through her as they signed their hopes and frustrations. In that shared space, a perilous journey awaited them all, one that threatened to unearth dormant tensions and prejudices. And as she looked into Cindy's eyes, she could tell this twist of fate would only continue to amplify the treacherous path ahead, setting them all on a collision course with a fate they were far from prepared for. Laura sat on the edge of her seat, her heart racing, as she and Cindy continued their conversation, fingers deftly dancing through the air to convey their thoughts. The way Cindy signed was fluid, graceful, a stark contrast to Laura's somewhat clumsy attempts. In that moment, Laura felt diminutive, as if she were merely a shadow overshadowed by this powerful woman, the uncertainty clawing at her insides. Your son has potential, Cindy signed, her sharp gaze piercing through Laura's self-doubt. I see it when he engages with others. You need to nurture that. Nurture it. The phrase lingered in Laura's mind. Tons of responsibility intertwined with hope. But how can I? She started, her fingers hesitating. But Cindy's expression urged her to continue. I'm just a waitress. I'm struggling to keep us afloat. What do I know about nurturing potential? Cindy's smile remained unflinching. Everyone starts somewhere. Methods don't matter as much as the belief that you can help him. Guilty resentment washed over her. The millionaire who had fought tooth and nail to be where she was had no idea what her days felt like. You say that because you don't live it. Laura sighed with a flicker of anger. For someone whose entire life revolved around her son's future, those words seemed too naive. Silence hung momentarily. Laura wrestled with her emotions. Each lapse in conversation felt heavy, as if the enormity of unspoken words buried beneath the surface threatened to crack this fragile trust. In that silence, Laura felt compelled to dig deeper, wanting to confront her own fears. What if Alex doesn't want it? What if he chooses to turn away from it all, from me? The vulnerability felt raw but necessary, illuminating the very heart of her incessant worry. Cindy's demeanor shifted, a seriousness taking hold. Those choices come from somewhere. Explore why they occur. Ask him. The suggestion struck a chord, yet it also terrified Laura. What if Alex resented her? Or worse, what if he didn't want to communicate at all? A punch of guilt stung her. Was she even equipped to help him explore anything, an emotional chasm she had yet to cross herself? Gripped by fear, she felt an urge to distance herself from this burgeoning relationship. It was simpler to retreat, to let her insecurities push her back. But then she spotted Alex through the window, sitting among his peers, gesturing and laughing, his face a radiant sun. In those moments she understood. This was about him finding his place, his voice. I want to help him, but I don't know where to start, Laura sighed, her demeanor shifting from despair to determination as she faced Cindy. What would you do? Cindy leaned forward. Become a student. We all have things to learn. I can help you navigate this, give you resources. The sincerity in Cindy's eyes drew Laura in, igniting a flicker of hope. As they planned the first steps of what could become a seismic shift in her life, Laura felt a rush of adrenaline. Perhaps she could grow with Alex, could create a journey worth taking. Embracing the unknown, she resolved to dive deeper into the world of sign language herself, to not only be an advocate for Alex, but to become a vision of what he could achieve. But with every choice comes sacrifice. How far would she have to stretch herself? What dreams would fall aside in the pursuit of this new path? A stirring question loomed, amplifying the excitement of what had begun, yet the sting of uncertainty was palpable. With flickers of determination rattling through her, she knew this was only the beginning. And as she prepared to leap into this new chapter, a daunting realization settled in. Who was she to lead this charge? Laura looked into Cindy's eyes, her mind teetering on the edge of possibility and fear. The moment of truth was approaching. Would she truly embrace the sacrifices required to change not only her son's future but her own as well? And what surprises awaited her along the way? The next morning, Laura rose before the sun crested the horizon, the cool blue light spilling through her bedroom window. The air smelled of potential, an enticing reminder of the promise she had whispered to herself the night before. Clutching her stomach, she pushed the nervousness down, steeling her resolve. Today, she would begin to uncover the world of sign language. Within hours, she was sitting in a small, brightly lit classroom filled with brightly colored posters showcasing various signs. As the instructor, a patient woman with warm glasses and an inviting smile, began the lesson, Laura found herself immersed. In the first few minutes, she struggled with the simplest signs. Her fingers flitted awkwardly, unsure of their motions. But as she focused, the clumsiness waned, yielding to a burgeoning awareness that this newfound skill was vital in connecting with Alex. After the session, her hands tingling from the effort, she exchanged pleasantries with fellow students. One, a young mother named Rachel, caught her eye. They struck up a conversation, and Rachel shared that her own son faced similar challenges. The recognition in Rachel's eyes, the gentle empathy in her voice, resonated with Laura deeply. It was then that she realized she wasn't alone in this pursuit. She could build a network of like-minded individuals, perhaps even form friendships that stretched beyond the confines of the classroom. Days melted into weeks. Each signing lesson unfolded like a layer of an onion, revealing deeper insights into the silent world Alex conducted himself in. Laura began to grasp the importance of not just the signs but the essence of communication itself, the emotions, the unspoken, the understanding beyond words. With each session, her desperation morphed into empowerment. She practiced relentlessly, fingers dancing around the kitchen as she prepared meals, often signing the names of ingredients before tossing them into pots. Yet doubt still loomed. Late at night, while Alex was asleep, she grappled with insecurities. What if he rejected her efforts? What if her growth didn't translate into meaningful communication? It was during one of these sleepless nights that she resolved to face her hesitations head-on. Filled with both dread and excitement, Laura decided to approach Alex while he was immersed in a video game. "Can we talk?" she signed, her heart pounding as she navigated the tentative waters of their relationship. He paused, screen flickering in the background, his brow knitting together as he interpreted her signs. "What's up?" he signed back, his hands stilling. "I want to try something new together." The simplicity of her words felt monumental, her mind racing with possibilities. "Can we learn some signs?" Alex's reaction was inscrutable at first. Laura searched his face for any hint of encouragement or rejection. Then a flicker of curiosity sparked in his eyes. "You're learning sign language?" "Yes. I want to communicate better with you," she signed, her face open, sincere. As if testing the waters, he leaned forward. "Okay, show me what you know." In that moment, Laura felt a bridge begin to form. She signed a sequence she had practiced just hours earlier, her hands trembling slightly but resolute. To her amazement, he responded with a sign she hadn't learned yet. He was inviting her in, pushing her to grow even further. With every gesture exchanged, Laura felt the gap narrowing between them. It was just sign language, yet it encased an emotional leap they both yearned to take. They struggled briefly but eventually erupted into laughter as they muddled through it together. The bond between mother and son blossoming in ways she hadn't anticipated. Yet as Laura reveled in this connection, a dreadful thought crept in. Was it merely a sign of something larger? This burgeoning connection felt powerful, yet it threatened to reveal deeper fissures. What hidden fears lingered just below the surface? She had glimpsed so much joy, but what challenges laid ahead as they ventured further into this realm? The thrill of newfound connection, mixed with trepidation. What would Alex discover about himself? And how would this journey challenge her own limits? A pivotal moment lay ahead, one that could either strengthen their bond or test it to its breaking point. With each sign exchanged, Laura knew they were both on the precipice of transformation. Would they embrace it? Or would they retreat back into silence? The next day brought with it a palpable energy. Laura surveyed the breakfast table, her heart racing at the thought of sharing what she'd learned with Alex. The simplicity of their morning routine now held the weight of a new beginning. She approached the moment like an artist preparing a canvas, ready to infuse their time together with the colors of affection and connection. As Alex ambled in, eyes still bleary from sleep, she sighed, feigning a casual demeanor that cloaked her inner tension. "Good morning," she signed, adding the gesture for happy. His face lit up in response, a sign that her earnestness was breaking through his guardedness, inching them closer toward shared dialogue. "Can we learn more signs today?" Laura asked, fingers dancing through the air, eager for a real interaction that would test the waters of their kinship. Without hesitating, Alex nodded, eyes growing curious. "You show me." He switched on the video game, the ambient noise filling their home. Laura felt a swell of anxiety bubble beneath the surface as she defended her motivation. Would this flimsy layer of skill match the gravity of his expectations? She hesitated, unable to suppress the uncertainty creeping in as she mirrored her thoughts. What if this was just a passing whim, another failed attempt to bridge their worlds? Not giving herself time to dwell, she seized a pen and paper, jotting down basic words they had yet to explore. "Let us learn together," she signed. In an unexpected twist, he murmured like a game. Caught off guard by this glimmer of creativity from him, she chuckled, realization dawning that this was also a way for Alex to engage. A rush of excitement mingled with fear. Could this be their breaking ground? Laura began a new lesson, her confidence ebbed and flowed like a tide. They practiced in bursts. Alex laughed when her fingers misfired, the laughter tinged with both sincerity and the latent pain of communication barriers. More practice, he signed with a teasing smile, and somehow, that simple gesture ignited a warmth in her chest. It was acceptance. Days turned into a blur of learning and honing their newly forged communication. Both found themselves slipping into a rhythm, the anxiety subsiding and transforming into a sense of shared accomplishment. Yet, as they delved deeper into complex phrases, The thrill of triumph sometimes collided with a pang of discomfort. One evening, while immersed in a particularly advanced lesson, Laura noticed a shift in Alex. The frustration was creeping into his movements as he struggled to express a thought. She began to feel the familiar weight of worry, a flashback to moments where she failed to reach him in times of struggle. Her mind raced. Was the joy of connection starting to expose vulnerabilities? How do I sign my feelings? He blurted in a rare moment of candor, gesturing emphatically. The question hung heavy, leaving Laura momentarily stunned. This was the crux of their dynamic, the very essence of their unspoken bond. After a fleeting pause, she took a breath, focusing her hands carefully. They would climb this mountain together. The warmth of vulnerability ignited the conversation, but it also unnerved her. Was she ready for this? The road of raw emotion was ominous and alluring. As she weighed her response, something shifted deep within her. I would choose connection fiercely. I feel proud, she signed passionately, hoping he could grasp the magnitude of her decision to open up. Alex's response was immediate. He signed back. Proud of us. In that moment, they both became aware that their journey wasn't simply about learning a new language, it was about forging a new history together. Yet, beneath that understanding, a shadow loomed, raising unsettling questions. Would they be able to sustain this newfound depth, or would it shatter under the pressures of their pasts? Laura knew that the moment she instructed Alex to sign his feelings was a threshold. They stood poised on the edge of something powerful. Would exploration reinforce their bond, or give way to discomforting revelations about their individual needs? As she contemplated her next steps, an unshakable urge to confront the emotional implications washed over her. Being seen brought clarity but also unease. The moment was ripe for transformation, but unsettling shadows lingered. What if their growth led them to places neither was prepared to traverse? As Laura pondered the weight of that uncertainty, a new challenge loomed. A pivotal choice awaited her, one that would redefine everything. Would she lean into the revelation, or retreat in fear? Laura woke up the next morning, her resolve fortified but still quaking with anxiety. The following moments would either confirm or unsettle their burgeoning connection, a duality reflected in her restless thoughts. As the midday sun streamed through the kitchen window, Laura found herself at the breakfast table again, this time armed not just with words but with intentions. Learning to express feelings through sign language was becoming arithmetic in formal education, universal in its complexity, but daunting when paired with the intricacies of human emotion. Each letter felt drenched in significance, each gesture a bridge between their lives. The uncomfortable unknown lingered over her. Was she ready to peel back layers that she had meticulously built? Perhaps she needed to ask Alex a question that she had been avoiding, one that could redefine their foundation if properly navigated. Can you teach me how to sign trust? She signed with an earnestness that felt both daring and necessary. Alex paused, his brow furrowing slightly, and for a moment time ceased. She could see the flickering of thoughts dancing in his eyes, the same dance revealed in the gradual vulnerability they had been unearthing together. He began to sign back, demonstrating the motion with purposeful clarity, but there was an unmistakable weight behind the gesture. Trust is hard, he signed, and in that simplicity, she recognized the myriad of unspoken barriers they had both faced. At that moment, his raw admission offered her a glimpse into the power dynamics of relationship building. How could she promise him something so monumental without the experience of mutual reliability? I understand, she replied gently, presenting her palms outward as if to strip away her own reservations. We learned together. This mutual commitment haunted her. What if it forced them into the very vulnerability they were trying to master? She felt an odd twist in her stomach, a blend of hope and fear that turned every breath into something tangible. Would they find trust through this unfolding partnership, or remain ensnared by their individual pasts? Days passed with an electric combination of excitement and discomfort. Every lesson in sign language felt like a step deeper into unexplored territory. They progressed from simple words to profound phrases. With each moment dedicated to their shared journey, she measured her own growth against the specter of his fears, afraid they would morph into obstacles rather than stepping stones. On an emotionally charged afternoon, Laura faced a choice: to delve deeper into Alex's narrative and reveal her own haunting memories of abandonment and untrustworthiness. They had often skirted the edges of genuine connection, without fully embracing the truth of their individual scars. It was one thing to sign "I feel proud" and quite another to acknowledge the familial baggage that both tethered and defined them. "Can we talk about our past?" she finally ventured, her hands trembling slightly as she signed, unsure of his response. Alex's lips pressed together for a moment before he nodded, the room thick with palpable tension. "Talk." As they sat across from one another, the space between them felt charged, raw with the promise of vulnerability mingled with the threat of emotional collapse. Would Alex's willingness to share trigger something new and profound, or would it unravel them entirely? Laura could feel her heart quicken as she prepared to unveil pieces of herself that she had always kept guarded. She thought about the kind of transformation that awaited them on this other side of honesty. What if their stories, interwoven, forged a bond deeper than either could have anticipated? Or, as her mind skittered towards the past, what if it was a catalyst for retreat? The fear of losing the fragile connection they had battled to build clawed at her. One deep breath in, one deep breath out. "I was afraid of trusting." As the weight of her confession settled into the air, she sensed their destinies could intertwine or fracture at any moment. In the silence, she noticed Alex's eyes searching hers, as if assessing the veracity of her words and what they meant for them as a duo. The rawness of this conversation threatened to echo loudly in her heart, where a pin drop felt seismic. Behind their connection lay shadows of deeper truths, waiting to be unveiled. Would they fend off the distractions and step boldly into their shared vulnerabilities? Or would fear knock the breath away, leaving them isolated once more? In that pregnant silence, Laura recognized something monumental was unfurling, and the precariousness of their journey stood firmly at her fingertips. But before she could allow the depth of those realizations to settle, a new challenge rose, unanticipated and formidable. What if understanding her past only paved the way for Alex's hidden struggles to finally surface? Laura's pulse raced as she awaited Alex's response. His expression shifted, shadows of contemplation flickering across his face. It was the kind of moment that felt suspended in time, urging them both to delve deeper, yet pulling her in the opposite direction towards emotional safety. "Trust," he signed slowly, as if the word itself held the weight of galaxies. "Heart." His fingers danced with sincerity, but Laura sensed something profound lurking beneath his words. Did it mirror her own fears? Or was it rooted in experiences she knew nothing about? She felt an insistent tug within, a need to reconvene on the gravity of her confession. "Trust is hard for me too," she replied, carefully forming each sign with intent. The act of unveiling her vulnerability had cracked open the safe facade she had built, and now it felt vital to push forward. "Why?" he signed back, his brow instinctively furrowing as he sought clarity. The single word carried immense responsibility, forcing her to peel back layers she had kept tightly wound. Gathering her thoughts, Laura built the courage to share her past, her hurt, and the ghosts that haunted her. "My mother, she left. I felt abandoned. Trust became a luxury I couldn't afford." The signs flowed, each one echoed with the tremor of her heart. She hoped to impart a sense of connection through her pain, not diminish their fragile bond. She saw the shift in Alex's reaction. His eyes widened slightly, gripping the significance of her words tightly. "Sounds heavy," he signed, and empathy swirled in the air between them, creating an almost palpable bond through the shared acknowledgement of scars too often unspoken. "Yes," she pressed, her breath hitching slightly in her throat. "But I'm trying to change that. I'm learning," she added with determination, wanting to emphasize her resolve to shift the narrative of her life. He nodded, a silent acknowledgement of her journey, but she sensed he struggled with something too, saw glimpses of ancient wounds lingering in the depths of his gaze. It terrified her to think of him bearing pain similar to her own. "Maybe we need to share?" Laura ventured, her heart thrumming with vulnerability. What if this was the key to unearthing the trust they were building between each other? "Okay," he signed tentatively, fidgeting with his hands, a subtle but telling indication of his own internal conflict. "Dad hard too." As he began to describe his relationship with his father, Laura caught glimpses of a different landscape filled with expectations and disappointments. The familial ties binding them were woven with complexities, and as they exchanged stories, her empathy deepened, drawing her closer to Alex. Suddenly, in the midst of their exchange, a ripple of anxiety washed over her. What if this unburdening spiraled into things best left untouched? By sharing their pasts, were they constructing a stronghold of trust or merely constructing a platform for deeper fractures? Laura chose to push through the unease. What if we focus on the future? Taking a breath, she signed, I want us to create a space where we can grow together. With that, a shift occurred in Alex. Something hardened in him softened. Grow, he signed, his face brightening with the same fervor that Laura felt inside. A shared vision was born in that moment. One steeped in potential and a fragile hope that pushed them beyond their individual experiences. Yet, as she basked in the warmth of this newfound clarity, it struck her. Revealing one's past only embarks on the daunting path to the future. Would they truly lay a solid foundation to rise upon? Or would buried truths claw their way back, tangled and vicious? Before she could decipher those thoughts, Alex's next sign froze her. The tremor in his hand carried a message of its own. What about your father? The question hung heavily like a storm cloud, demanding acknowledgement. An unsettling dread settled in her stomach. Future growth now depended on revisiting painful roots. How could she unearth the remnants of abandonment yet again? As the weight of his question sunk in, Laura realized they were on the precipice of a discovery that could either fortify their bond or plunge them into chaos. Would she reveal the truth, even if it meant exposing the deepest scars of her heart? Laura's heart raced as the implications of Alex's question took root deep within her. The words hung in the air, a tangible assault demanding her attention. The mention of her father conjured a vortex of emotion she had walled off for years. She felt raw, exposed, and implored to respond, yet the memories remained tangled in her mind. Her fingers hesitated, trembling as she wrestled with the decision to reveal the complexity of her relationship with her father. He was more than an absence. He was a person whose actions etched an indelible scar on her heart. Would explaining this pain help build their connection further? Or would it only fracture the fragile bond they had begun to establish? Dad left too, she finally signed, tracing each character with careful precision, her breath heavy. He was hard. Never understood me. The tension in her body coiled tighter with every sign she formed. Memories surged his unyielding expectations, and the sense of inadequacy that swelled with each critique. She had fought hard to carve an identity separate from his shadows, yet here she was, caught in his grip yet again. I was not enough. She looked up, meeting Alex's gaze, his expression morphing into one of empathy and concern that made her feel simultaneously comforted and exposed. Maybe our parents were scared, Alex signed, his brow furrowing thoughtfully. Hard times create hard people. Laura nodded slowly, the realization settling like dust. Yes, she admitted, the ache in her chest both lightening and intensifying. It was true. Both of their parents had faced their own demons. They had left marks on their lives, shaping their worldviews, suspending them in a cycle of pain and misunderstanding. Try forgive, he continued, a tentative suggestion laced with hope. For us, forgiveness felt monumental, a mountain she had yet to climb. What if I can't? She signed back, her heart twisting with fear. What if it hurts too much? Then share it. Pain is real. Grow, he replied, a mix of urgency and gentleness imbued in his signs. His words, meant to instill courage, planted seeds of doubt. Was growth even possible without confronting the shadows lingering in her past? The question loomed large in her mind, doubt flooding her thoughts like a tempest. As their conversation unfolded, Laura felt a shift. Talking to Alex was rapidly becoming a sanctuary, a space where vulnerability was encouraged, rather than ridiculed. Could a conversation about her past reshape her future? Okay, she finally whispered, the resolve blossoming alongside trepidation. I will try. In that moment of connection, something transformed between them. The scars they shared no longer felt like vulnerabilities, but bridges to newfound understanding. With renewed hope, she added, together we might find ways to heal. The words felt lighter, bearing a hint of possibility instead of despair. Alex's face lit up as he signed, together. Build a future bright. A surge of warmth washed over her. Together they could navigate their demons, pooling their strengths to forge an uncharted path, one devoid of the shadows of their parents. Yet even in that moment of hope and connection, an unsettling thought loomed. What if confronting their past led to deeper conflicts? What if the revelations would unravel the threads of trust they had woven? As the weight of the conversation settled heavily upon her mind, a final thought pierced through her uncertainty. In the quest to fortify their relationship, would they unearth secrets too destructive to reconcile? The stakes felt impossibly high. Laura looked at Alex, his face firm yet gentle. What happens when the truth ruins everything? The question lingered, a challenge echoing in the silence that enveloped them, amplifying the uncertainty that lay ahead. Laura sat quietly, her heart still racing from the conversation with Alex. The room felt both stifling and expansive, the emotions swirling around her like dust in a sunbeam. What had begun as an open dialogue now felt like stepping onto a tightrope, uncertain of the ground below. Each interaction with Alex haunted her with questions, not just about their relationship but about her very identity. Could she reshape the stories held captive in her heart? She had taken the first step by voicing her pain, but what awaited her on the other side of truth? As thoughts consumed her, she couldn't shake the feeling that her past, still lurking in the shadows, would soon become a confrontation. The next day, Laura found herself sitting at a small cafe, nursing a cup of steaming coffee. The rhythmic clinking of dishes around her was a comforting backdrop as she prepared herself for her next meeting with Alex. Every sip felt like a battle with her own emotions, each moment pushing her closer to a decision. What would she share? Would she reveal the full weight of her father's disappointment? As she scanned the cafe, her eyes fell upon a woman seated at a nearby table, patiently signing to her small child. The child's gaze was fixed, learning each sign with earnest curiosity. That moment sparked something profound within Laura. She felt a flicker of connection to the mother, the effort it took to impart understanding where words often fell short. Perhaps there was a lesson hidden in that interaction. Communication extended beyond mere words. Perhaps her signs could convey not only hurt, but also hope and resilience. At that moment, her purpose crystallized. She would channel her pain into reclaiming her narrative, shaping it with intention rather than fear. When Alex finally entered, looking a bit disheveled but energized, Laura felt a rush of determination. She waved him over, and the warmth of his smile melted some of her apprehension. They had agreed to meet and delve deeper, but the stakes felt higher now. She breathed in deeply, resting her elbows on the table as she prepared to confront her fears, and the scars that came with them. About my dad, she started, her hands trembling slightly. I want to try showing you the memories. What do you mean? Alex signed, his face brightening with curiosity. Laura took another breath, steadying herself against the rising tide of her emotions. I've kept memories buried. I think if I could write them out like signs. Her words trailed off, but the meaning was clear. You'll see my past. Alex nodded, encouraging her with his eyes. I want to understand. As she began to recall events, her father's scornful expressions during school performances, the cold silence at family dinners, something lifted off her chest. Each memory she brought back to the surface freed her from the tight grip of shame and inadequacy. This isn't easy, she sighed, the vulnerability exposing her raw nerves. But I want to confront it. Alex reached across the table, his hand enclosing hers in a comforting grip. In a world where her voice was often silenced, that simple act of solidarity felt monumental. It connected the two of them through unspoken acknowledgement of their shared struggles. Yet still uneasy thoughts flowed through her mind. What would happen once they unearthed these memories? Would the dialogue strengthen their bond? Or would it reveal more fractures than they could navigate? Are you ready for this? Alex's voice was low, a mix of determination and caution. I think so, she responded slowly, her resolve wavering for just a moment. But it feels heavy. I can't predict what happens after. Then we'll take it one step at a time, he reassured her, his grip tightening slightly. Together we'll learn. Facing it could lead to something good. Still, uncertainty bristled beneath the surface. As the cafe buzzed with life around them, Laura couldn't shake the fear that the more she exposed herself, the greater the risk of losing everything: her connection with Alex, her sense of self. Sometimes I think she hesitated, searching for the right words, that the truth may shatter us. The weight of that admission settled heavily between them, a tension that felt almost palpable. What awaited them in this pursuit of truth? And would they emerge stronger or leave behind irreparable damage? As they shared this moment, the looming question whispered in her mind. What other secrets might be waiting to be uncovered? And were they truly ready to confront them? The cafe hummed with life, yet all Laura could hear was the tumult of her thoughts. She squeezed Alex's hand, grounding herself in that brief connection as waves of memory surged through her. Each recollection tugged at her heart, each a fragment of a person she had largely kept hidden. The liberation she had hoped for felt intimidating now, the weight of revelation heavy on her shoulders. "I've spent so long locked away," she admitted abruptly, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if opening this door just lets in more darkness?" Alex's gaze remained steady, calculating. "Then we'll illuminate it together. It's the only way you'll reclaim your story." At that moment something clicked inside Laura. She had expected fear, yet here across from Alex, she found a small flicker of excitement. The thrill of potential blossomed through the storm cloud of her anxiety. What could come from this venture into the past? Today was not just about confronting her father's disapproval, but embarking on a path towards empowerment. "I need to start from the beginning," she decided, her voice steadier than before. "Not just the hurtful moments but everything that led me here." It was a declaration, a commitment to own her narrative rather than let it own her. Alex nodded encouragingly. "Then let us begin there. What's the first memory?" As Laura leaned into her past, she spoke not just of her father's harsh criticisms, but of the moments that showed his love, cooking together in the kitchen, laughter echoing during family board game nights, and the warmth of his embrace after school plays. These anecdotes were marred by the echoes of disappointment, but she discovered they also contained strength. They revealed that she had the ability to adapt and endure. In recounting her experiences, a pattern started to appear. "Every time I thought I was breaking through, he would pull back, reminding me of how I still fell short. I learned to mold myself to his expectations, to hide the parts of me he would deem unworthy." The revelation was as liberating as it was heavy. There was recognition in Alex's eyes, understanding that made her feel seen in ways she had always thought impossible. "Your worth isn't tied to his approval," he signed slowly, each word resonating deeply. For the first time, Laura began to weave through the struggles of her identity, separating herself from the roles she had been forced to play. It was an uncomfortable path, but instead of retreating, she felt the urge to confront the narrative her childhood had created. "I've let fear dictate too much of my life," she confessed, her heart racing. "Maybe it's time to harness that narrative." "That's the spirit," Alex encouraged, his expression brightening. "Use it to fuel your progress." Laura sensed a shift within herself. This was no longer about just sharing memories. It felt like an embrace of her entire being, an acceptance that would ripple into their relationship. With every detail revisited, she felt her foundation strengthening, unfurling like the petals of a flower breaking through the soil. "Discussing the painful past will still trigger the shadows, won't it?" she pondered softly, suddenly aware of the implications. Sharing these stories was only the beginning of a much deeper confrontation. What unseen layers lay beneath the surface? What darker truths might emerge from this exploration? As fear tinged her excitement, she dared to ask, "What if some secrets are better left buried?" "Then we'll consider them as they arise," he replied, unwavering. "Your past doesn't have to define you. It's about creating a future." Through the haze of uncertainty and fear, Laura felt a rush of clarity. This journey was not only an excavation of past pains, but also a pathway towards redefining her future, one where the shackles of her upbringing no longer bound her. They leaned in closer, cracking the veneer of old memories together. With each word shared, she felt lighter, more determined, unearthing a strength she hadn't realized was there all along. But deep within, a trepidation lingered. The memories felt like splinters she was dislodging from her chest, and with every story unearthed, another question grew: would they withstand the truth she had yet to confront? As the cafe around them faded, a new realization dawned. Truth was not merely revealing what had been hidden. It was also about embracing what lay ahead. "What if this exploration unveils something I'm not ready to face?" she whispered, feeling the weight of her inquiry. "Then we'll meet it together," Alex replied firmly. "That's what growth is about. It's about facing what we believe will break us and emerging stronger." That conversation, that simple truth, ignited a fire in Laura. She was prepared to take the plunge, but would the water she entered be as calm as she hoped or turbulent beyond measure? Determination coalesced within her, ready to embrace the unknown. But deep down, A new anxiety loomed. What buried truths might rise to the surface and alter everything she thought she understood about herself? The next morning, Laura awoke with a renewed sense of purpose, standing at the threshold of transformation. Today marked not merely another day but the beginning of a new chapter, one where her past wouldn't dictate her future. She took a deep breath, her heart racing with anticipation. Today she would face the shadows that had haunted her, step by step, with Alex by her side. As they met at their usual cafe, a blend of excitement and trepidation coursed through her. This was the day to share everything: the chaotic memories of her childhood, the conflicting emotions tied to her father, and the resilience she had nurtured all along. With each step, she felt empowered, ready to conquer emotions she had long buried. "Let us revisit those memories," Laura signed, locking eyes with Alex, who remained a steady anchor through her rising tide of anxiety. "I want to confront those shadows." Alex's presence immediately soothed her nervousness, a silent declaration of mutual support. Together, they launched into a narrative that blended pain and strength, each recollection becoming a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. As Laura signaled her father's harsh words and judgments, she felt the heaviness diminish, a cathartic release of past burdens. "His expectations felt like chains always dragging me down," Laura signed, her fingers trembling slightly. "But I also recall his smile during our cooking sessions, how proud he was on the rare occasions I performed well. Those moments taught me to fight for my identity." "Your worth is not defined by others," Alex signed, a gentle reminder that resonated deep within her soul. In that moment of shared wisdom, something within Laura crystallized. The realization dawned that her past experiences molded her resilience, the capacity to advocate for herself and for Alex. Days turned into weeks, and every session deepened their connection. Each sign exchanged represented not only understanding but reinforced their commitment to growth. Laura dove into her own journey through journaling, untangling her feelings, documenting the myriad of emotions surfacing. She practiced relentlessly, determined to become a skilled communicator for both herself and Alex. Every evening their dialogues blossomed. They moved beyond simple signs to explore the territory of dreams and aspirations. Alex's newfound enthusiasm glowed with a confidence that had been absent before. He took pride in mastering new signs, transforming the lessons into playful exchanges, testing boundaries and embracing joy. But as they ventured further, Laura knew the road wouldn't be entirely smooth. One day, while immersed in yet another lively conversation about future endeavors, a reminder of their earlier hesitance flickered uncomfortably beneath the surface. "What about your father?" Alex inquired, his eyes searching her for honesty. "How do you forgive him?" The question struck like lightning, stirring emotions that lingered in the recesses of her mind. "I'm not sure," she admitted, treading carefully. "Forgiveness feels like asking for grace, but it's complicated." "It's okay to be unsure," Alex signed, his face softening with empathy. "What matters is understanding you have the option to choose." Laura pondered that sentiment. Choosing forgiveness didn't erase the past, but rather cleared the way for healing. "Maybe I can forgive for myself," she concluded slowly, her heart swelling with unexpected clarity. With that revelation, a wave of empowerment washed over her. Releasing the grudges against her father meant freeing herself from the constraints of anger. She could embrace her identity, one defined by her growth, aspirations, and ever-expanding connection with Alex, and trust that their bond could withstand even the heaviest truths. As the weeks progressed, Laura launched herself into community activities to further her understanding of the deaf community and improve her sign language skills. She approached local organizations, soon leading workshops and sharing her own story, drawing others in to appreciate the beauty of communication in all its forms. The satisfaction was palpable. She finally felt the recognition she had sought for so long, not just from others but from within herself. "Look at how far you've come," Cindy signed one afternoon after a successful workshop, a proud smile radiating from her. Laura felt a rush of validation wash over her. "You've created a space for so many." As she continued to develop relationships with those in her community, Laura remained grounded in the importance of her bond with Alex. Their connection was blossoming, rooted in their shared experiences and a growing understanding of trust. They stood standing on the precipice of achievement, one where Laura felt a solid confidence in her familiar struggles, but also in the triumph she had gained. It was on a fortuitous evening that Laura witnessed a pivotal moment. Alex, now a beacon of newfound assurance, performed a sign language rendition of a song during a school event. His eyes sparkled with pride, a stark contrast to the trepidation she had once observed. As applause erupted around them, Laura couldn't contain the pride swelling in her chest. Each clap symbolized not just recognition of Alex's accomplishments, but a quiet validation of their journey together. In that moment, Laura grasped the significance of their transformation. The convergence of their paths had not only yielded profound growth, but a thriving connection that bridged communication gaps, shattered barriers, and celebrated resilience. As the event concluded, Laura approached Alex, who beamed in triumphant exuberance. "You were incredible," she signed passionately, her heart full. It was real. This was their victory. Their transformation crystallized into one breathtaking moment. But as applause faded into the night, an undeniable urge surged within Laura. They had conquered vast landscapes of fear, embraced uncertainty, and emerged victorious. Yet, an important task remained: sharing their story, illuminating the way for others who walk similar paths. "I want us to share our journey with others." Laura turned to Alex, excitement weaving through her signs. "Let us write a book about our experiences and empower others through our story." The spark in Alex's eyes mirrored her own determination, a sign, a signal, an unmistakable commitment toward impacting others and growing beyond the profound bond they had crafted. With humility and grace, Laura understood the power of community at her fingertips. Through their individual narratives, they could cultivate understanding, acceptance, and above all, hope. This was the moment, a defining chapter, rich with possibility, waiting to be written into existence. Laura looked out at the horizon, full of light, knowing they had the strength to conquer anything they would face ahead. She was ready to not only embrace her own identity but to defend it fiercely, shaping a legacy of trust, understanding, and accomplishment that would ripple through the lives of others, echoing their journey and reinforcing the significance of overcoming the shadows of the past. Now the call to action is clear. You need to subscribe now to stay tuned for more exclusive stories of emotional triumph and personal growth. Leave a like now to help us spread the word and fuel our mission. Comment your thoughts and theories on this remarkable conclusion. Your insight is invaluable. And finally, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this inspiring journey. This is the moment to show your support and let others see how powerful personal transformation can be. Don't wait even one more second to share. It just might change someone's life.